Alrighty, welcome back. My name is Mason Dupree. If you've watched these videos before, this is really just sort of a document, or if you haven't watched these videos before, this is just sort of a journal slash documentary where I'm documenting my process as I build my own company while working full-time for another marketing agency. I was running an agency up in 2023. I think I've now changed that. Not totally changed it, but I'll talk some more on that soon. I'm just not sure what I want to share while I'm in like sort of the early throes of working on things. But today I wanted to make a video about, this is a video I want to make for a little minute now. I have not really, all I did was grab these off of my bookcase and you know, I'm going to kind of talk about them as I go through them, but this is sort of a video of books I recommend for anyone who's trying to build a marketing agency or a successful business. I've read a lot of, you know, marketing and sales books, sales psychology. There's a couple in here that aren't actually in, aren't actually in here. But I just tried to grab some of my favorites and ones that I, you know, sort of really valued, like would be upset if I had never read them kind of thing, reading what I had learned in them, and just share those with you guys. And then hopefully, you know, you guys can kind of get some ideas for what books you want to read next or whatever. Hopefully if you're a, you know, a proactive individual who wants to better themselves, then, you know, maybe you're looking for some books and some recommendations. And I've read through a lot. I've read through a lot of repetitive BS, and some of these books have provided some really valuable information that I think not only I have benefited from, but I think you guys would too. And so, yeah, I want to start with, this is one of my favorite ones. This is Deep Work by Cal Newport. This book is incredible. It's more of a how to develop the skill of deep work and working. Which is not something I don't think you come out of like high school or college with, unless you have focused on a particular set of skills. But you know, really sitting there and trying to figure out how do I work efficiently and get a lot of things done, and how do I cultivate the skill of being able to accomplish a lot and to really focus, deep work and deep focus. And this book kind of helps you with that. And it talks a lot about, you know, getting rid of social media, removing distractions during work sessions. It sets a standard in terms of, you know, how many deep work hours does a human really have? And it says the most practiced individuals only have about 4 hours of incredible deep work that they can get a day. And so that kind of resets the expectations for like, okay, I should be working 8 hours a day. Well, you're only really gonna get 4 hours, if at best, right? Of incredible deep focus work. The rest of it is just surface level stuff. And it talks about the difference and what's surface level and what's really important. And I really appreciate that. And this book is incredible. I mean, if you haven't read Deep Work by Cal Newport, I strongly recommend it. I really like this book. I liked it so much I bought his other book, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. This video is more so for business advice and business success and marketing. But you know, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You is also on my shelf over there, and that one's really great for anyone who's an employee and wants to kind of grow their position within a business and you know, be a bit more of a valuable employee. I don't want to block any books here while I'm kind of going through them. This is a good segue into the next book. This is the 4-Hour Workweek. I bought the fancy edition. I like buying hardcovers when I can. I learned a lot more than I expected to out of this book. There is a lot of niche topics. There's like almost like a little guide in the back on random things that people probably find productive. You know, like how to learn a language efficiently, how to work remote, how to, you know, all kinds of like wild little, how to use a VA. And it even recommends, and I haven't done this yet, but it's like, if you don't even, like even if you don't think you need a VA, a virtual assistant, get one anyway. And then practice giving them tasks. I think you can kind of do the same with ChatGPT and AI at this point, but there are a lot of incredible insights on working effectively, which is a great segue from, you know, deep work, and cutting out sort of the not real work. And both of these books, Cal Newport's Deep Work and this one, are very anti-email, which is something that I've tried to practice in, you know, my day-to-day. A lot of people and a lot of big companies, I think this one even breaks down the math, spend millions of dollars on employee salaries to respond to emails. Like, so there's a level of where, you know, there's effective communication, and then there's just a ton of time wasted trying to facilitate work when this could be done differently, you know? And so for that reason, this book really highlights what you need to be working on so that you can cut down your workflow to 4 hours a week. Which is kind of funny seeing that this one back here says deep work, you know, you can only really achieve 4 hours of deep work, and then this one is, well, here's your 4 hours of work, right? Like how do you, what is it you should be working on? Tim Ferriss is a really cool speaker. I recommend his podcast and all that. Very logical thinker, very cut dry, makes a lot of sense. And the 4-Hour Workweek is definitely a book that I highly recommend. There's just so many different bits of information in this, it's hard to nail down the topic, other than it tells you to kind of consolidate your work and remove yourself from the process, in a sense. But it's a funny book. It's really good. So I would recommend it. Definitely check it out. And then for agency owners, this one's pretty big. This one is literally just for, I would recommend for agency owners. This is The Confessions of an Advertising Man by David Ogilvy. David Ogilvy is one of the gods of Madison Avenue, New York City, big, giant advertising agencies. He's founded one back in, I don't know, it was probably like 1940s, 50s or something like that. If you've ever seen the show Mad Men, it's modeled after guys like this. And it's some really interesting advice if you were to talk to basically someone who founded a large New York City famous Madison Avenue advertising agency, and kind of the principles to doing it. How to build a big business, how to be a good client, build great campaigns, write potent copyright. I mean, these are a lot of older skills, but I think that the wisdom and sort of the thought process that goes about it is really interesting. The best part I really enjoyed was there's a section in here on the ethics of advertising, because there's actually sort of a bit, of a debate. Like, people find advertising annoying, right? But to an extent, it can educate, and that sounds like a cheap excuse for getting in your face and still, bugging your Facebook feed. But in reality, there's a lot of really good advantages to advertising, moral ones. And I think that he makes a lot of really great cases for that in the back of this book. So for anyone who's an agency owner, I didn't start my agency until I read this book, and I'll be honest, it gave me quite a bit of power to start talking like I was going to build an agency, and I immediately started having those opportunities kind of flow my way. So this is a fantastic book. I also have his other one. I haven't read that one as much, Ogilvy on Advertising, but I'll get around to that one as well. But I have it. Great dude, really cool. I met one of his coworkers one time when I was serving at the restaurant I used to serve at, and super cool dude. He apparently he is as he is in this book, as well as in real life. Like, he's honest to who he is and how he operates. So that's pretty cool. This one is, again, for agency owners or business owners, but I think it's really important. This is a recommendation by Alex Hormozi, actually. The next two are. This one is, I'm gonna do a little time check here. Okay, 7 minutes. Predictable revenue. So, it talks about sort of building out sales funnels, essentially. The math behind it, how to get good flow, bottlenecks and how to break through them, how things should work, scripts, all kinds of stuff. And I've gone through this book and I've noted a lot of stuff in it, but maybe not as much as I thought I did. But there's a lot to learn in here, and it talks about all kinds of different marketing methods, email, calls. I probably need to revisit this because I only really just got into cold email again, and I'm sure there's some wisdom in here. Very short read, very effective read. And again, Alex Hormozi recommended. So get after it. It'll help you kind of build a consistent sales funnel. And then we've got this one, Robert Cialdini, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Now this, when I bought it, I did not expect it to feel like an actual college textbook, but it essentially, I would say, is. It goes into the I think 7 or 8 influences, or psychological influences. Let's see, here we go. 9 of them. So let's see, reciprocity, liking, social proof, authority, scarcity, consistency, and unity. So it's all these, basically these metrics of psychological persuasion. I think one of the biggest arguments I like to make is that humans don't really change, but the things that we interact with do. And so the psychological levers that we need to pull as marketers are usually the same. It's just done so differently through a different tool. So learning how a human processes information and what influences their decisions, influences psychology of persuasion, helps you not only be more effective in sales, but also build better sales funnels and products, because you'll know how this is going to impact an insecurity, or be able to market it better because you understand that they want to be like everyone else, unity, or reciprocity. I gave you something, now I need something from you in return, right? A lot of this is the basic fundamental blocks of psychology that marketers use today to then be able to build successful sales funnels. And this is straight from the source. This guy has a PhD in psychology, and it's really fun. It almost made me want to go get a minor in psychology, because I feel like a degree in marketing plus a minor in psychology is probably a pretty solid comparison. I don't know that you need to go to school to learn what you could learn in this book, though. So definitely check this out. This is one of the better ones. I've tried to read as much sales psychology as I can because, again, I want to understand how people think and what dictates their decision making, so that I can best kind of play into that hand. But yeah, great book. Another Alex Hormozi recommended book. It is a long and dense read, but I'd recommend it. It goes into a lot of very interesting topics. It keeps it very interesting. It never gets boring, and I spent plenty of hours with this book, but yeah, fantastic. Anyway, moving on to the next one. This is the one that I started with when I started reading that year. I think I've spoken about it before. I wanted to read 52 books in a year, so I was aiming for about a book a week. And then I eventually sort of got to like the quality over quantity. I slowed down, and it sounds like an excuse for not hitting a goal, but I slowed down because I'd rather hit good books than read regurgitated BS from other books that are saying the same thing, right? But it all started with Atomic Habits. And if you haven't read this book before, you should definitely check it out. I think it's really good about building an understanding of how to get going with a habit, right? Anything you're trying to incorporate with your life, whether it's the gym or eating right or working right in your business and developing skills there to make it more successful, like Atomic Habits is really gonna help you. When it comes to reading and learning, like building that habit is important too. And it's funny because I'll listen to podcasts and I'm like, you know what? Like I've heard Hormozi say some things, and I'm like, that's right. And it's only because actually, subconsciously, I'm agreeing with a book, because at the end of that conversation when he was saying the things and I'm like, oh, I agree so much with this. He was like, well, I read it in Atomic Habits. And I was like, oh, that's where I got that from, right? And Atomic Habits is a really great book if you just want to start the skill of reading. I think pick this up. This will help you, just start reading, and then you'll be able to go build the skill of learning and consuming information and bettering yourself. But this is a really solid one. It's got really good graphics. It's got really good, clear, concise thought. It's actually really not that dense. You can get through it pretty quickly. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed this book. I read it almost 2 or 3 years ago now. I probably should revisit it. But yeah, Deep Work. By James Clear. Fantastic book. And then we have one of my personal favorites. A lot of the knowledge and the thinking, reduce parts and processes, simplify, reduce costs to increase the approachable market. I mean, all kinds of, focus on automation or the processes in which it takes to build an efficient business, all have come from, studying and following Elon for a long time. And I know it's a bit of a controversial topic these days, but this book was really cool. It gives you an insight into like who he is personally. Walter Isaacson is not his friend. He's just a biography author. And he studied Elon. He followed Elon around, and he doesn't always say nice things, but it gives you a real insight as to what it's like to be someone who runs these businesses at such an insane level, and really how he approaches problems. And I think that's really valuable, when you want to replicate the results that, obviously that he's achieved. But anyway, fantastic book, a lot of cool information in here. I bought this as soon as it came out because I'm a little Elon fanboy, and I think most business guys are. And yeah, there is a ton of information in here that really gives you an idea. I mean, he's thinking, a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years in advance. The vision is decades out, right? But he really tries to pull his timelines into now, so it's usually only 2 to 3 years ahead of when he wants to be doing something. But like right now, all the cybercab stuff that's coming out was talked about in this book. The design, which wasn't revealed until 6 months ago, was actually in this book. Like this will give you insight into what Elon's currently doing. It's probably getting close to being out of date, but this will give you an insight into the next, the future of Tesla and autonomy, and help you understand how they go about solving problems, which again, for business owners and agency owners, I think that's a really valuable mindset to have. And then I do have 2 more, and I've already brought them up a couple times. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Let me grab them. I didn't want to put them on the desk. It's Hormozi's books. Now, everyone has these. I love when I watch YouTube videos of other people and they have these in the background, like Social Proof, like Influence, Robert Cialdini, because you'll see these and you automatically associate me with someone like Hormozi, or, that knows Hormozi's stuff and, buys into his stuff. But anyway, I got $100 million offers, and honestly, it looks like a coloring book, and I did not expect to get anywhere near the value that I did out of it. I think one of my favorite parts is the value equation, because as sort of an analytical person, I think breaking down an offer into an equation and using that to help strengthen it is, incredibly valuable. And this book was amazing. Amazing enough that as soon as he announced this book, I was like, I gotta have it, and I bought it in the hardcover. And incredibly valuable still. And honestly, I need to review these books again because they don't take that long to get through. It's clear and concise. He spends probably weeks just working on the graphics that go into these. And they're amazingly valuable. It's incredible, what kind of information and knowledge can be distilled into such a funny looking book that looks like it couldn't be that serious, This looks like a real education book when it's in a hardcover. This one right here looks like a coloring book. But man, these were awesome, and he's already written his 3rd book, and we're waiting for him to drop that. But yeah, I can't wait for the 3rd one. These books, I could not recommend more or enough. And yeah, those aren't all of my favorite books. I've got quite a few over there, but for the ones that pertain to really business and marketing, I've got even a couple more marketing ones. I've got a couple copywriting books and things like that, funnel building books, a couple of other offer building books and things like that. But for the most part, those are some of my favorite reads over the past year that I just kind of grabbed this morning. Wanted to share them with you guys and kind of give them as recommendations. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys go and read these books. If you do, or if you've read them and you have some valuable information that you'd like to share, put it in the comments, please. I'd love to spread some of the information. I always reply to every comment that I get, and I enjoy making these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much. All right, bye.